If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me and subscribe to me on all my other social media platforms. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with another album review for you guys, and tonight I am talking about the latest studio offering from Finnish death metal legends Purtenance, The Rot Within Us. So this is the latest offering from these Finnish death metal legends. Like I said, they are seen as one of the pioneering bands of the entire Finnish death metal movement from like the very end of the 80s, like 1988, 1989, heading into the early 90s. One of the few pioneering bands, along with like Demigod, Convulse, Abhorrence, Sentenced, Demolich, Amorphous, among many others, during that like very end of the 80s heading into the 90s period. And of course Purtenance, part of the Nokia trio with Convulse and Lubricant, which were three completely distinct different styles of death metal they were going for. Purtenance is a band that I've actually never listened to. I know of the name after doing research all about Finnish death metal, but I never really got into their stuff. I hear their debut album, Member of Immortal Damnation, is a Finnish death metal classic. But here we are with a new album on Extreme Music. And, well, let's find out what this album had to offer. So, kicking things off with Mournful Echoes. Now, going into this, I was thinking I was going to hear just straight up, brutal, evil-sounding death metal. Well, you get moments of that, but not on, like, every single song. Like, every song has something different. Like, Mournful Echoes starts off after some eerie ambience and gets into this, like, atmospheric doom riff, and it makes me think mostly of, like, modern death doom bands, most notably Hooded Menace, fellow Finnish countrymen right there. And there are these cool, like, dark melodies that remains very evil, but at the same time, the song itself remains doomy for the most part, but then it gets thrashy towards the end, and that's kind of one of the formulas on a couple of tracks where they start off very slow and then they'll speed it up either in the middle or at the very end of the song to like boost up some energy and intensity. Then it goes into Transitory Soul of the Righteous. It actually leads out of Mournful Echoes and connects into this song, so it almost feels like a two-part song, as this track does start off similar with a dark, doomy, melodic riff, but then it picks up in the speed into like a nice little chug before it goes back to slowing down, but then you get some like quick D-beat gallops, and it ends on a thrashier note once again. Now, there are a few songs on this album that I immediately thought of Obituary. Mystic Sacrifice, which was like has this like really cool obituary breakdown that also has a nice cool lead to follow. Now, guitar lead wise, there's not a whole lot of leads on this album, but when they do pop up, I would say in tracks like Mystic Sacrifice, An Invisible Master, and the final track, Necromantic Spiritualism, those are really the only songs where you get like a true blues solo in the guitar department. But yeah, Mystic Sacrifice has this like horror-inspired guitar, and then it gets immediately into like intense blast beats and nasty tremolos. Even some like cool triplet swings that kind of scream like Celtic Frost a little bit, I would say. Unseen Sphere of Realities, this is really the most Obituary-inspired song. Like, the opening guitars made me think of Slowly We Rot, right out of the rip. And even the riffs that follow still keep that Obituary vibe for me. And actually, Unseen Sphere of Realities also had a lead, so I forgot one. And then it kind of turns rather rocking towards the end, but with a little bit of atmosphere in the background, which I thought was pretty creative. Then we get into Solomon Presence of Death. The opening riffs on this track remind me so much of early Death, but then you get these nasty tremolos and diarrhea blast beats that made me think early Immolation, like Dawn of Possession, more particularly. In Invisible Master, we get back to Doom, but this opening riff made me think of My Dying Bride's Songless Bird. Immediately, I thought of that song when I heard this opening guitar line, but then more obituary grooves come in towards the end of the track, but mostly this has a lot of Bolt Thrower vibes, like Bolt Thrower, double time, D-beat stomps, and then some more thrashy parts. Fate's Fearful Gesture starts off with another Bolt Thrower riff, granted a little doomier, and then you get some more of those like double time moments, some more thrash riffs and beats. Then you get to the closing track, Necromantic Spiritualism, melodic doom riffs right out of the gate as that side returns. And then the song builds up nicely into like a nice thrashy gallop, kind of similar to mostly melodic death metal, I would say, like perhaps like At the Gates. And then it gets thrashy with the beats as it gets into that like classic Slayer beat. Then you get these like cool, almost heroic melodic lead lines on the guitars. Even clean guitars kind of come in towards the end whenever the song gets back to being doomy with an atmospheric, heroic lead, I would say, towards the end of this track and the album. Vocally, this album has some comparisons, I would say, to like early Martin Van Drunen and classic Carl Willits. Like they're deeper, but they kind of have that like dry delivery to it. Now, as far as any complaints, the production in terms of the mix was a little uneven. I thought the vocals were a little bit too loud, too up front in the mix, and even at times the drums kind of overshadow the guitars at times. But really my biggest complaint, I would say there are moments on the album, like particularly in Fate's Fearful Gesture, what else was there? And Transitory Soul of the Righteous. Those two songs, it's like there are parts in the song where the riff is off the beat or the beat is off the riff. Like they're not in sync together at certain times. But other than those gripes, I thought overall this was a pretty solid album. I'm actually going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Like there was a lot of cool moments on here, particularly whenever they got into more of the doom side. It was very eerie, dark, and melodic. But then when you get into those more thrashy death metal parts, they were able to deliver. It's just, mix was a little uneven, and there were times where it was a little bit sloppy. But still, pretty good album, no other complaints. But of course, this is all just my opinion. What did you guys think of The Raw Within Us by Purtenance? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.